I've been told I'm a very good actor, so I'm going to reenact to you guys how I just reacted to this Mariners news. You ready? Here we go. That may have been a lot for you, I get it, my Oscar-worthy performance may have been a little intense, but the Mariners just made one of the weirdest moves of all time. Like, what just happened?
Jerry Dipoto happened, I guess. This was one of the first tweets that popped up when the news dropped. It made me laugh. The Mariners general manager, Jerry Dipoto, has built himself a reputation for being the trade guy. He loves trades. It may not even be the case, but it at least seems like the Mariners do more trades than any other team in baseball every offseason. It's wild. It's almost as if Dipoto gets on MLB The Show franchise mode, makes some crazy trades, realizes he can actually make those in real life, because that's literally his job, gets so excited about it, and then goes out the next day and makes a real-life trade as the Mariners general manager. I'm not going to go through every trade Dipoto has done over the last several years and see how often he's right or wrong on his trades, what has worked out and what hasn't, but all I know and all everyone knows right now is the newest trade he just came up with might be one of the dumbest of all time. Really quick, I'm trying to get to 140,000 subscribers before 2024, so if you enjoy the content or are new and haven't hit that button yet, consider doing so. Thank you. So all of a sudden, I get notified that Jarred Kelenic from the Mariners was going to the Braves. That was the first report about this trade via MLB insider Ken Rosenthal. And any trade involving the Braves means AA, aka Alex Anthopoulos, the general manager, is cooking. He's striking, so I immediately texted my Braves friend to stay clear of the area. Something is happening. That is until a few minutes later when Jeff Passan reported the full trade between the Braves and Mariners. So I once again texted my Braves friend, now alerting him of the Passan bomb that had just been dropped. Stay back, stay clear. Chaos has ensued. Here's the full trade. Outfielder Jarred Kelenic, left-handed pitcher Marco Gonzalez, and first baseman Evan White to the Braves in exchange for right-handed pitchers Cole Phillips and Jackson Kowar. I'll admit immediately I assume those pitchers going back to Seattle were absolute studs. Highly regarded arms in the minor leagues ready to rock the baseball world, and it was a tough give-up by the Braves. But no. You quickly realize that this was an absolute fleece job by AA, aka Alex Anthopoulos. Holy God. So let's start off by going over who the Braves got, who the Mariners just traded away. Jarred Kelenic was the 6th overall draft pick by the Mets back in 2018, was traded to the Mariners that same year in a trade many soon looked at as a loss for the Mets, because Kelenic was such a young, highly regarded prospect. He'd eventually make his debut in 2021, he was awful, he was somehow even worse in 2022, and at this point in his career he was a bust. Things still had the chance to change, and they did, because 2023 was different. He didn't have a great year, but it was much better overall, even though he broke his foot at one point kicking a water cooler in the dugout, resulting in a good chunk of games on the injury list. So is Kelenic as highly regarded as he was back in 2021 before he made his debut? Obviously not. His value has gone way down, but he's still only 24 years old, has potential, and doesn't hit free agency until 2029. Marco Gonzalez is coming off a terrible season that ended in him getting surgery to decompress a nerve in his forearm. Doesn't sound great, but don't let that take away the fact that Gonzalez has had a solid career as a whole so far. He can very well slot into the Braves rotation as a solid number 4 or 5 starter, and he still has 2 years left on his contract before he becomes a free agent. And the first baseman Evan White was a first-round pick with high expectations just like Kelenic, and also just like Kelenic, he's been a total bust. Well, at least Kelenic was productive in his latest season. After getting drafted in 2017, White has gone on to only play a total of 84 games in the big leagues, and the last game he played in was 2021. He's been hurt and non-existent the last 2 years, but there was a reason he used to be highly regarded. Maybe we'll see that potential someday. So the Braves decided to get him as well, along with Kelenic and Gonzalez. So you have Kelenic, who's expected to be a superstar. His development has gone much slower than expected, but he's still young and has potential to be a superstar. Marco Gonzalez can be a solid bottom of the rotation guy, and Evan White hasn't done anything, but still has enough potential to be a low-risk, high-reward type guy. Now, just hearing what a team got on its own doesn't tell you if they won the trade or not, or give anyone an idea, really. I mean, the Braves could very well have lost this trade by a landslide if you didn't know what the return was. But we do know what the return was. Like I mentioned earlier, it being the 2 right-handed pitchers, Cole Phillips and Jackson Kowar. That is a terrible return for the Mariners. Cole Phillips was drafted in 2022 in the second round, was a top 10 prospect for the Braves, so based off that alone, he has potential, obviously, but he also hasn't thrown a pitch since being drafted, getting Tommy John surgery right before the draft, so there's no development that's gone on in the last 2 years. He was drafted out of high school, so he is very young at just 20 years old, which is good, so he seems pretty hit or miss right away when looking at his situation. As for Jackson Kowar, I mean, he is quite literally bringing zero value to the Mariners. That can change in time, obviously, but as of right now, it's bad. He's pitched 74 big league innings from 2021 through 2023 with the Royals, and he has an ERA over 9. He's actually been on the Royals this whole time. He's only been a Brave for like 2 weeks after getting traded there, and now he's on the move again. He's 27 years old, has shown nothing of value at the big league level, so you pair him up with a guy who hasn't pitched professionally at all? It genuinely seems as if Dipoto just made this trade to make a trade. It's a hobby at this point. No, but the Mariners did this trade basically to just dump some salary. They weren't necessarily looking to get the greatest return of players back, but even that logic is weird because it's not like they're saving too much by trading these 3 players. Jared Kelenic, Evan White, and Marco Gonzalez are combining for about a little under $20 million next year. And that's really between White and Gonzalez because Kelenic hasn't reached arbitration eligibility yet, so he's getting paid the league minimum at like $750,000 or whatever next year. So yeah, it's something to shave off $20 million, but apparently the Mariners are looking for a hitter, and it's expected they're going to be more aggressive with that pursuit now that they've got some of this money freed up. The biggest loss here has to be Kelenic, obviously, the youngest and most prized name of these 3 players going to Atlanta, and the name that needed to be involved or the Braves wouldn't have pulled the trigger. I'm willing to bet that. They're now willing to take on that money for Marco Gonzalez and Evan White because they also got Kelenic, who's getting paid nothing and is under team control for 5 more years. But again, it's not even like they're taking on these lucrative contracts or whatever with Gonzalez and White. I guess this is just the Mariners shaving payroll, even if it means giving away one of their most hyped up young players. They're not going to look for another hitter, and the Braves just saw this as an opportunity to take advantage of the situation and get the best they could out of it, and it seems they did, so AA keeps on fleecing. As for Seattle, it's just hard to fully justify that this trade makes them better. You really can't, and it's one of those trades where you gotta wait and see what other moves they do to see if this one makes sense in the long run. But even then, even if they go on and get a hitter or whatever in a lineup that very much needs some thump, I really don't like giving up Kelenic. That just seems very premature. But there's a reason Jerry Dipoto is running this job and not me. I'm just saying from the outside looking in, and right away judging this trade by the way I see it, it seems very dumb on Seattle's end. Most others seem to feel the same, and the Braves just bought themselves some potential real value that can help out immediately too. Let me know what you think. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.